Hello and welcome to The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
And I'm back this week. Sorry guys, I had a really busy work week last week, but hopefully it won't happen again. But for those of you who are new to our podcast, this is a podcast where we talk about video games, movies, comics, things that make us broke every week.
Yeah, last week it was very difficult doing a show by myself. I was just sitting there. I half expected someone to start arguing with me and no one would. So I'm like, I can just get away with anything.
I'm invincible!
So it's good to have you back. Hopefully we don't make a habit out of this. But if we do, I'll try to get someone on the show. If not, we'll do the same thing where...
Hey, no. Why can't I get somebody else on the show?
If I'm ever not on...
Why do you have to be the star?
But even during our absence, we did see Gravity.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to see it because of Alfonso Cuarón. He did direct my favorite Harry Potter movie out of all 8, technically. And that was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the 3rd book. Was that your favorite Harry Potter movie as well, or?
See, I don't even know that I've seen all the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Have I seen all of them?
You've seen a lot of them. I know you've seen pieces of all of them, but you haven't sat through all of them.
Right. I would say that my favorite's probably one of the last ones where we get that Snape moment.
I think it was the last one, yeah.
Was it? Where Snape's so
the final
dreamy.
one.
And I went into it, we sat in the theater, I'm like, aha, Dan, it's your boyfriend. And then in the end, I was just in tears. And then we went and saw it the second time, and that WB popped up, and I was in tears.
Even to this day, I'm still like, you remember making fun of me with the Snape? You remember when you said that it was my boyfriend? Well, now he's both our boyfriends. I'm willing to share because his role was so good in that last movie.
It was amazing.
Like, what's that one meme with the faces where he's like, I don't know who this guy is. He could be a bad guy. And then it changes to the second movie.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like,
and it's going down through the movies talking about how he's a bad guy and how could he betray us? And then the last one is just him crying.
He was the most wonderful person ever.
But back to Gravity.
Yeah.
We got on our Snape tangent, which is a very good tangent to get on. Gravity, I think you liked it more than I did.
You think so? I thought you liked it more than I did.
No, I was pretty sure you liked it more than I did.
It was because of you and the character, right?
Ah,
Sandra Bullock?
No, I didn't like Sandra Bullock.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You didn't connect with her as much as
Correct.
I did.
I enjoy movies when I can connect with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't really connect with Sandra Bullock. I felt that a lot was very forced in the movie, and that kind of detracted. Now, George Clooney, on the other hand, great. He was George Clooney, of course. He just played himself.
Just this magical guy that always knows what's going on, knows the answer to everything,
has a little jetpack. And then at the end, I expected, like, through Earth's atmosphere to see like, him on his little jetpack.
He just bursts through like, hey, I made it. Still listening to his radio.
But let me hear your thoughts on the movie.
I thought it was filmed really well. When I did some more research on it, I found that it used very similar technology to the one used in Avatar. I didn't like the Avatar movie as much as everyone else did. It was one of those 3D epics where they pretty much CGI characters and their bodies and their faces and everything. I wasn't crazy about it, but it made a ton of movies, so the world liked it, and they're going to make 2 more. So what Alfonso was trying to do is he was waiting for technology to catch up so that his vision was as accurate as possible to what he wanted to make. And when Avatar came out and that new technology was revealed, he said, okay, now I can do it. And that's why it took like 4 years to make this movie. I think originally Brad Pitt was one of the actors attached to this, and that would have been interesting too. But George Clooney, I thought, nailed it. Sandra Bullock, she was good, but you did say that you did have trouble connecting with the character. I don't know if it was so much her fault. I thought the role was great.
Yeah.
For her, she acted really well in it, but the writing I think was the problem there. Because we all wanted George Clooney. We wanted to follow George Clooney. We wanted this to be his journey. But as we all know, we are following this woman, and that's how the story's kind of going.
I think it might have been more effective if we had some flashbacks. I respect what they did without having that in there because I think it was much harder to make the movie set entirely in space.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was very, very difficult. But I think from an emotional standpoint, getting to go back and actually live with her what she went through would have been it would have connected me more.
Otherwise, there was a ton of symbolism in there. There was symbolism for rebirth, human evolution. Not to spoil it, but there is a scene at the very end of it. As you know, when you go into space, your muscles do weaken, and that's why they have to do those exercises. and then the bones become weaker as well because they don't have gravity that they have to work against. So that's kind of, you get the result of that at the very end. So a lot of this is very scientifically accurate. From what I saw online, Neil deGrasse Tyson was pointing out all the things that were wrong in the movie. Like the stars wouldn't be here, you actually wouldn't see this, and it's like, okay, fine. But for what it was for the movie, I thought it worked well, and I did like, in the trailers, they did put sound when things exploded, just for the audience, like to make it exciting. But when you're actually watching the movie, there's no sound, and you're seeing chaos around these characters, just like it is in space, how it should be. So I thought that was awesome. I don't think it's going to be something that we're going to be buying.
Probably not. I would recommend seeing it, though, if you have the extra money this week. It was, like you said, filmed beautifully. I thought it was edited very nicely.
Yeah.
It was a great experience.
I agree. It is a must-see, but not necessarily a must-buy. One that you would watch maybe once, and then you'd be good with. Mm-hmm. On to your favorite bit of news, I think.
Oh, man.
I'll let you present it.
Fine.
Because the Brokettes out there know the history of this. Someone's been following from the beginning and has seen Kelly's own Poke evolution throughout this year. So go ahead, Pokemon X and Y.
This week, Pokemon X and Y released. And I bought it.
Which version did you get?
I got Pokemon X.
And you started playing it?
Yes.
And what'd you think?
It was not terrible. I did give in and get it, guys. Danny, don't make fun of me.
I'm not.
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to say I told you so.
This is just fact.
None of this. We're adults here. We can act like adults.
Okay.
So, yes, I picked up Pokemon X. I've only played the first little bit. I got my Pokemon, got back to Mom, gave her a love letter. Apparently, she and Professor Sycamore are shacking up.
Yeah.
They're kicking me out on this Pokemon journey so they can, like, do whatever. Like, oh, good, my 10-year-old's gone now. Let's just...
Haven't we always thought that from the beginning? Like, gamers, they all think that Professor Oak was banging Red's mom.
He probably was.
Yeah, well.
Why not?
I guess it's just a trend that continues.
Single mom, no kid in the house. Why not?
Go on this journey.
He lived right next door. Right next door.
So you got that far. You got to almost create your own character. Mm-hmm. You have to reach the salon first.
Yep.
We don't want to spoil any of the Mega Evolutions that have been revealed thus far. We want people to play the game and discover those for themselves. I also got about as far as you did. Got to the very first town, haven't even gotten to the first gym. Got my Froakie.
I'm not telling you which Pokemon I got.
You're not?
You got to guess.
I think you got Fennekin.
You are wrong.
Damn it.
I got Froakie.
Oh, you got Froakie too?
Yes.
Awesome. Now you can get the Torchic as well through Wi-Fi, through Mystery Gift. So now whatever starter you started, you can have 2 fires, or you can have a water and a fire like I'm going to do. And then I'm going to choose Bulbasaur as my leaf when I get to that Kanto part of the game.
I will say the game won me over. Well, okay, mostly run me. I had a very, cool moment. And I know they only did this for the people like me who are like, I miss my old Pokemon. Should I spoil it?
Was it at the very beginning?
No. That part was pretty cool, too. No, the part that I just did like 5 times.
Yeah. It's near the beginning.
Okay, it's near the beginning.
Yeah, go ahead. It's not a big spoiler.
It's great. So I deliver my mom this love letter from dumbass Sycamore. Yeah. And I go outside, and this Rhyhorn walks up, and he's like, hey, yo, have a good life. And, like, he walks away. And I'm like, thanks, Rhyhorn. So I walk up to, like, talk to him, and he's like, here, ride on my back. And I jumped on, and we rode around the yard. And I was so happy.
Yeah, the only thing that I think would have made it better was if it was a Rhydon, because that was the first Pokemon that they had designed. So it would have been kind of fitting, because it's one of the first Pokemon you see at the beginning, right outside your house.
How are you going to ride on a Rhydon, Danny?
On his shoulders. I'm sure he can support me.
That's weird.
It's not weird.
Because then he'd have to, like, pick you up, like, baby style around your little waist and stick you on it. That's weird.
This is more appealing now. Like, he throws me in the air, like, hey there.
He's your father.
He's my dad.
No wonder she keeps him around. Gross.
Also, the 2DS launched with Pokemon X and Y. Of course, a smart move. Those things flew right out the store. You weren't able to attend the midnight.
I was working.
But yeah, I was there for the midnight. A lot of people. And a lot of 2DSs bought. A lot of 3DSs, both new and used. This is a game that moves systems. It is... this is one of those games that when your system is struggling, which the 3DS isn't anymore, but when your system is struggling, you want a Pokemon, you want a Smash Brothers, you want that Mario or Zelda, and that's what was doing. I saw a trend of people that hadn't played Pokemon in years, and they were returning to play Pokemon X and Y. Something about this game made it really appealing to people that hadn't been a Pokemon trainer in years.
It's because all the news they're seeing is Charizard X, Mewtwo X. You're seeing all these Pokemon that you grew up with, all these mega evolutions where they're just adding on to what you already know. And you're feeling that nostalgia like, oh man, I remember me and my Blastoise. We conquered shit, man. Kanto was our bitch. And now you want to go back and you want to feel that again. Because now you're in your 20s and you're working 60 hours a week and life sucks and you want that escape. Smart move.
And I'm sure most of them got Pokemon X because of the Dark Charizard. Or not Dark Charizard. I keep calling it Dark Charizard because it's the darker color, but the Dragon Charizard.
Are you being racist, Danny?
No, I'm not.
That dark Charizard over there.
And like Bobby would say, he's Jewish. But yeah,
I will give you, it did have a nice opening too.
I think what I was also pleasantly surprised is some parts you actually can't see in 3D. This is a game that actually shuts off the 3D during certain portions of the game, and that is parts where you're walking around, they're running around, and the camera is shifting. The only time that I've seen that it is in 3D is during certain cutscenes and during the battle itself, during the Pokemon battles. It obviously saves on battery, so to not have the 3D on at all times. But there are moments which I really liked when the camera went from the top view to like behind your player as you're about to walk through a gate onto the road. I was just like, man, you've never had this kind of perspective in the game before.
It was very cinematic. Yep,
exactly.
I will give it that. Also, the fighting style, I was really worried about how much it shifts, but it reminds me a lot of Pokemon Stadium. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost exactly Pokemon Stadium.
Without the announcer. They are staring each other down.
It was so cool. Pokemon Stadium was a great game. Those mini games.
Yeah.
I was the boss at those. We're going to have to pull out my N64 and try this sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody want to challenge me to that Chansey from Pokemon Stadium 2? Hard, 100%, every time. Now what?
I think Pokemon Black and White 1 and 2 did some of that camera shifting, but not as much as Pokemon X and Y. Mm-hmm. And it was done well. It's tasteful. It's not... I don't feel like it's any different than the game because you're still moving 4 directions. So it's not like a fully 3D game you're moving 4. So the roads... There are some parts in which I want to run out into the grass, but it won't let you. Like, there's an invisible wall, but right. I don't mind it so much. And then with the way the roads are set up, sometimes you go in a diagonal form, which, again, was in the previous Pokemon games. But when you mix in the camera moving and shifting to show you a new area or a new building, it looks wonderful. With the updated graphics, it's awesome.
I still miss my Soul Silver graphics.
Where when a Pokemon took damage, it just blinked?
Yes.
Like Thunderbolts a second later.
No. I would be so happy if I run into a Pikachu and he pops up and he goes, Pikachu!
The staticky, like...
I would be so happy. There should be an option for that.
For Game Boy Color sound.
Yes. Oh, I'd be so happy. For every Pokemon.
Every Pokemon sounds the same. Yeah.
What's Bulbasaur sound like? I did like also, speaking of Pikachu, when your character hops out of bed, they have a Pikachu 3DS.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're sleeping with their 3DS. Because you're going to squish that, and that was an expensive system.
Yeah, what's he doing? Your character's not very smart.
But I did like that, and I'm like, I'm playing this on my Pikachu. Do I get something special? But I didn't get anything.
You get a special Pikachu that knows surf.
That's false. You were lying to me.
Right now, someone's like, really? That's how rumors get started.
I got a Pikachu background for when I fight things.
Yeah, you can change that, too.
Yes.
That's one of the features also. You can change the backgrounds of that bottom menu, which is one of the first. Before, I know you can change your text boxes, like the borders, but I've never known it where you can actually change the full background of that bottom screen. Any final thoughts on Pokemon X and Y or the 2DS? I do have one thing to say about the 2DS, but X and Y before we move forward.
I haven't put my hands on a 2DS yet. My brother bought one. Whenever I can get over there to see him, I'll check it out and give you guys my thoughts on it. That's probably next week.
Yeah.
I'll be able to do that. As far as Pokemon, I was really against it, those of you who have followed us. I'm kind of liking it. Kind of. But I will continue to give you my thoughts. I will be really tough on the things that I hate. But I'll try and be honest on the things that I like. So stay tuned and you'll hear some more.
I did get to hold a 2DS. Anyone that follows us on Twitter, at Reasons I'm Broke, I put up a picture of myself holding a 2DS. It is actually smaller than what I would have expected, and it's more comfortable than any DS ever, actually, because the sides and the back where the shoulder buttons are, they're kind of curved for your fingers to fit snugly on. So when I'm holding this, it's light. It's not heavy like my old. I have an original 3DS, and that does get heavy. This thing is so light. It doesn't feel cheap. It's one piece of plastic. It's a matte finish. The red and the blue, it's actually more like color accents. It's more on the borders and on the like one of the lines on the back of the system. Most of the system is actually black, so it's not super colorful, and which I think is funny because this is more aimed at like kids because of the 3D effect is gone. But it's actually a really comfortable system. I'm going to say that anyone that picked up a 2DS, it was not a bad option. You saved yourself $70 compared to the 3DS XL, and I think like $40 compared to the regular 3DS. So I do actually recommend the 2DS. If you don't have a 3DS and you just want to play Pokemon, or you don't care about the 3D and you want to save money, use that money towards buying Pokemon X or Y, because that's money saved right there. That's the $40. By all means, get one of those. Make sure to buy a screen protector, of course. It doesn't have the clamshell design, otherwise it would have been a much more expensive system. And buy a pouch for it. A lot of the places that are selling the system are selling a pouch, red and blue, and you can just put it in there when you're not using it. And it does fit in your back pocket. It didn't fit in my side pocket, but it does fit in your back pocket. And with that, for the first person, we're going to do a giveaway. First person to get to your Xbox and go on Xbox Live and redeem a code. Here is a code, WXFKV. C9KWB, 8BJCV, CYX27, 6KRW8. That code again?
WXFKV, C9KWB, 8BJCV, CYX27, 6KRW8.
1 year Xbox Live Gold membership.
Woo! Congratulations!
To whoever gets it, enjoy. Especially, remember, if you're getting an Xbox One, this will transfer right over to your Xbox 360. And that's just a thank you from Kelli and I for tuning in and listening and sticking with us. Make sure to, again, follow us on Twitter, at Reasons I'm Broke. I kind of want to know who got it. I'm just curious. I usually give out codes on Twitter, but this time we're giving out here on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I get a little mention like, hey, thanks for the code. So I do want to know who got the Xbox Live Gold membership. Go online and play some Call of Duty Ghosts when it comes in.
Now, for a little bit of a controversial topic.
Yep.
I would say New York Comic Con. Being sneaky sons of bitches. So they posted onto their attendees' Twitter account without their permission. The attendees could pre-register their badges online, and each badge has a radio frequency identification chip to prevent counterfeits from being produced, which is pretty smart.
Yeah.
I would produce a counterfeit.
Especially at New York Comic Con.
Yes. Guests were able to tie their social media accounts to their badges, and that's when New York Comic Con started to tweet as the attendees about how much they loved going to the con without the account holder's permission. Whose smart idea was this? Who was like, hey guys, this is what we're gonna do this weekend. Nobody will get mad. They'll probably be like, yeah, maybe I did post that. I am having fun.
Oh man, New York Comic Con posted as me? Those sons of bitches, they're so funny. Oh man. Those guys, they're silly bastards. So if you go on Twitter, pick a guest. Any of the guests on New York Comic Con, chances are they've tweeted about how they're like, that was not something I put up. And these tweets range from like, I heart, hashtag NYCC, I'm so excited for NYCC. Just all of them are hashtagged with NYCC for New York Comic Con, which is going on right now. And yeah, no one's happy. They're all pissed off.
Now, see, if I was going to do that, I would post something like really bad.
What would you post?
Man, I don't know. I would think of something like,
Just get into full trouble.
Just had sex with New York Comic Con. Love them so much. I don't know.
New York Comic Con's so good in bed. And so far, they haven't commented on this. They're just like, oop. We're not going to say anything.
I'm not going to lie. It's probably some intern. Straight up.
I don't know who it is, but I don't know what can you say as like a PR move to. How can you apologize for that other than like we're not going to do it again?
You would have to say that. You would have to say it was a mistake. You would have to blame it on an intern and fire them. And then the next year, you would have to make sure that they can't tie it into their social media.
Right.
Because the same thing could happen.
So they're not going to do this again. That's
No.
for sure. So that's a really funny bit of New York Comic Con going on. If any of you are attending, let us know how it is.
Mm-hmm. Really jealous if you're there. We give you free stuff on our podcast. Why can't you give us free Comic Con tickets?
Flight included, please.
And room. Is it cold up there this time of year?
It's getting cooler, yeah.
We'll sleep outside. It's not that cool yet. So just flight and tickets.
Yeah, that's all. So on to comics now. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of comics, especially with Villains Month being over. So now we're getting to our regular number of books, more affordable.
Yes.
Reasons we're broke. Starting with Indie, Red Sonja number 4, written by Gail Simone and art by Walter Giovanni. Red Sonja continues to be sick. She's got the plague, so we think. And we understand now the relationship between Anasi, I think was her name, and then Red Sonja. As you guys know, we didn't really read any Red Sonja before Gail Simone started this brand new series, and we're really happy we did. This was another great story, another strong issue, 4 for 4 from Gail Simone. And I think the best parts of this book are when Red Sonja's just angry and she just wants to kill shit, and when she gets really fired up, those are the parts where I'm just like, yeah, fucking kick ass, go get those fucking people, let some heads roll. What about you? What'd you think of this one?
I agree. It was a very good book. She incorporates the present and the past very seamlessly and makes you want to know more. So we saw a little bit of their history before, and now we're seeing a little bit more. And, I want to know what happened to take them to this point. That's what you want to have in a book. You want to have something that you want to keep coming back. It's not only good for them because they get sales, but, now we're spreading word and something that we're really enjoying for our money, which is good.
Yeah, and it was one of 2 books that I was most excited to read this week.
Next, we have Rocket Girl number 1. This one is written by Brandon Montclair with art by Amy Reeder. This one you were super excited for. You've been excited for it for a while. Mm-hmm. Finally came out. It was originally a Kickstarter campaign, and they got so much funding that they were able to publish it, put it out to Diamond, and put it into comic book stores. Unfortunately, I wasn't one of the original backers. I just recently became aware of Rocket Girl, ironically from Gail Simone's Twitter. Mm-hmm. She was saying, hey, you guys really want to get Rocket Girl? It's coming out. It's in the previews catalog. Make sure you put down your orders for it. So I added it to the subscription, to our subscription, and Rocket Girl number 1. The art is so good. Beautiful, beautiful. Art is just top-notch. Everything flows, it fits well. The characters look the same at all times. And the expression on our main character, I thought those were executed perfectly. The writing itself, it is a first issue, so you have, like always, a lot of setup. I think it could have been tightened up just a little bit more with the secondary characters that are around the main character, Rocket Girl. But other than that, it was an excellent start to the series. Mm-hmm. I agree. It was much stronger than a lot of the firsts that we see for these original series. I don't think there was a character that I disliked. I thought when they showed the future scenes where it's pretty much run by kids, I thought that was really smart. Yeah. That was really cool. And, she's back in 1986 or whenever it is, and she's a 15-year-old, and she's sitting here talking about these adults, and like, really, guys, I'm 15. It's all cool. I know what I'm talking about. Right. And, I thought they've brought out some great characters, done some great setup, and I'm really excited. Next is Adventure Time Candy Capers number 4, written by Yuko Ota and Ananth Panagoria, and the art is by Ian McGinty. Ice King, you make me laugh. Ice King was picked on a lot in this one. But he makes me laugh, so it's okay. So you were laughing while he was sad and crying. They had a Mr. Freeze moment in this. They did. It was so good. There's a scene in which, what is her name? The giant human that we think it's a human, what? Right? If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you Susan. Susan is just like, essentially she's like, you're an asshole, Ice King. You're a creep. She calls him a creep straight up. I'll tell you why. Go ahead and finish your Mr. Freeze moment. Let's feel sorry for him
After she
first.
insults the Ice King, he has this single tear that turns into like an ice crystal, and I'm like, oh, this is that moment from Batman and Robin where Mr. Freeze had that rolling tear and it just turned into a snowflake and drifted off into the wind. For some reason there was wind, and or in Heart of Ice when he's in his jail cell, and Paul Dini, I think he said that originally in the script he had that moment in which there was a tear that turns into snowflakes. And when he was on set for Batman and Robin to help with the development of the character of Mr. Freeze, that's when they were able to work that into the Batman and Robin scene. But yeah, go ahead. You were going to explain why it's not so much, why it is creepy, I guess.
It's very creepy. So he walks up to Susan and he's like, okay, so we're going to go on this mission. We need cop outfits. Here, put on this hat. And she puts on the little bunny ears hat. And he goes, and now we need secret cop names. I'm going to call you Fiona. And she's like, well, what's your cop name? And he's like, I'm just the Ice King. And so...
Why don't you have a nickname? He's like, don't worry.
he's pretty much using her to fulfill his sick fantasies.
Yeah.
So yes, it is creepy. But
I initially thought he was trying to get like a friend. I thought he was trying to turn her into Finn, but...
That's what I thought at first too. And then I'm like, no, this was pretty clever, Adventure Time.
This got dark.
Pretty clever. I would have worn the Fiona hat for him.
Yeah, the thing about this miniseries is it is a story about these characters trying to find Finn and Jake and tracking them down by where his sword is going and who's selling it and where it has ended up in the past. But I think the main draw of this comic is everything around it, how the characters are reacting to them, and how characters like Ice King are actually helping Peppermint Butler and the big donut guy.
He's not a donut.
What is he?
He's Cinnamon Bun.
Cinnamon Bun. It's kind of like a donut.
I like the Adventure Time series better. I will say they have done something very good with this particular series. It is a short 6-issue mini-series, but we're getting to see characters highlighted that we don't normally see. And they're doing a great job of it. There's not one that I've disliked so far. Even Susan, just the interaction between her and Ice King. I never really liked Susan, but when I see her as Fiona, I'm like, Ice King, you pervert. So funny. One of my favorite parts, though, was when they go into the casino. And It's pretty much Casino Royale. Mm-hmm. Cinnamon Bun dresses up like that lady with his pretty dress.
It was good. Mm-hmm. It was good. Yeah, I think I do like the Adventure Time comics as well more, which comes out this week. Coming up. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we're enjoying this. I think there was one issue in the series that I wasn't too nuts about. But this month it was really strong.
Mm-hmm. Next is one of my favorite comics, Batman Little Gotham #7. This one's written by Dustin Nguyen and Derek Friedhoffs with art by Dustin Nguyen.
It's Little Gotham, Little Gotham.
Written by Dustin Nguyen. This one, we had 2 different stories. The first one is centered around Aquaman and some big krakens, leviathans, sea monsters.
It was Pacific Rim. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah. Damian was very cute in this, though. I did like they're about to send him in, this giant robot, to fight these monsters, and he's sitting there going, Damian, Damian, Damian. I'm like, is that how you pump yourself up? You just say your name, punch the air.
Yeah, and then Batman, you just see a cameo for the Batman Beyond outfit in this. So that was kind of fun to see.
Yep.
And he makes fun of Aquaman quite a bit.
Yes.
Only Batman can get away with making fun of another superhero, and they just take it.
They're just like, oh, he notices me.
And then the second story, which I actually liked a lot more than the first because it was that good, it was the 4th of July story. As we all know, this is kind of centering around holidays from around the world. So the 4th of July one was all about Harley and the Joker. Yes,
so cute. They're collecting fireworks to do a big fireworks bash, and he teams up all of the villains to go out and find them together. And that was really cute. I like Bane. He's like, we're going to Mexico to get these comics. And who was it? Firefly? He's like, well, that's going to take us forever. Do you have a jetpack? And he's like, no. I need to see him riding on his back. His little jetpack.
Yeah. That was he kept doing that too. He's like, you have a jetpack. I like how they made Bane into, all of them are kids almost, except for Batman, but And then Joker, of course, had the signature Batman the Animated Series. I'm annoyed at Harley in moments, and Harley, of course, just unrelenting love and what's it called? How do you pronounce naivete for how the Joker treats her. So you continue that. Big fan of the animated series, so I really enjoyed Low Gotham #7, and so did you.
That's one of my favorite things I love about Dustin Nguyen is, there's so many different incarnations of Batman, but he tends to lean towards the animated series, which is what we love the best. So for me, these are further stories of little in-between moments of the animated series.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, with Damian Wayne kind of worked in there.
Yeah, well, Damian should have been in the animated series.
Didn't exist yet.
Well, wait, never mind, because then that means Batman would have slept with Talia.
No, he technically did exist, actually.
Now,
Hold
Dan,
on. Hold on a second.
What's the next comic? Look, we still
There's
got
the
lots
Son
of
of the
comics.
Demon comic that was in the 80s.
We got a whole bunch of comics we still got to talk about, and other things, so.
My pick of the week, Batman #24. Written by, you should know him by now, Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo, and the backup story was by Danny Miki. This was a $6.99 issue. It's a supersized comic book, and it ends the first part to 0 year. This also gives you, spoiler alert, but if you've been following the comic book up to this point, you've pretty much figured out that the leader of the Red Hood gang is the Joker. So you will have the origin story of the Joker for the New 52.
It was really spooky.
It was spooky. It was a haunting issue, like you said. But it seems like Greg Capullo is somehow improving on just getting better and better every single issue. And I really honestly felt that Batman #24 was probably his strongest Batman work yet. That's how much I really like this issue. And even within the first 5 pages, just if you've seen the New York Comic Con cover to the Batman #24, Detective Comics #27, first appearance of Batman. Side by side, hold up those covers. It was done so tastefully, and the colors matched, and it was successfully updated for today's times. That was a new Batsuit for readers like us, for readers in the 2000s, but it still had the purple gloves. It was so much about this issue I liked. This is my second favorite comic book this year.
Wow, really?
Yes, it is.
Really?
And your turn.
I felt that it was a very good comic as well. I don't think I liked it as much as you did. From an art standpoint, yes, it was beautiful. From a story standpoint, I prefer my Joker to be, I don't want to say less noticeable, but does that make sense? Less in the spotlight.
Okay. But this is the moment in which he fell in love with the Batman. There's that panel, and you see his eyes, and I think he says, like, there you are.
I think this is the moment you fell in love with Batman.
No. He does love the Batman,
where you're
though.
like, yeah, there he is.
A lot happened here, and there's so much history to the characters and to the first appearance of Batman, and the way that was set up. Even, like, I just had to stop and just process it and go on Twitter and be like, you guys fucking knocked it out of the park. What do you think about the backup story, which is introducing the Riddler as the villain for the next portion of, I guess it would be still 0 year?
It was cool. I'm excited to see the Riddler. I think the way that they've set him up within this arc, within this mythos, is very cool. Very realistic.
Yeah. And New York Comic Con news, the third villain, or the villain after, so we've had the Red Hood gang, next is the Riddler. Scott Snyder revealed that the last part of it is called Wild City. This next one is Dark City, because the Riddler has taken over Gotham. He has control of everything. And the third one's Wild City, which we've seen a hint of in the first issue of 0 year, in which the city is overgrown and everything is just like savage.
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy will be the third one in the hands of Scott Snyder. Have we seen a female villain? No, we haven't. A female villain in the hands of Scott Snyder as the main antagonist.
I'm really excited now.
Especially for Poison Ivy. What can they do with this character?
I'm going to have to cosplay.
So yeah, I really like this issue. The price point, what do you think?
Worth it.
I agree.
Worth it for what? For how much you got. Very worth it.
Absolutely. You got a lot of art, you got a lot of writing, and I'm assuming that's from, I guess, that sort of break they took with Villains Month, because there was no Batman issue then, although they were still working on some of the Villains Month stuff. Like Scott Snyder wrote, I think, one of them. But
Does Scott Snyder sleep?
I don't know. I gotta imagine Greg Capullo's job is a little bit more difficult than Snyder's because
Whoa, now we're gonna cause like a huge Twitter outbreak, Dan. Slow down.
I'm only saying a little bit more
Slow
because
down.
I'm not saying that one's job is more valuable than the other, but the way Greg Capullo works is he will trash an entire page if he's not happy with it. He has put up on Twitter, he said, I know that no one will notice like any little thing that isn't perfect that I might have not been satisfied with, but if I'm not happy with it, I'm starting all over on this page. So I think because of who he is and the way he likes to work and the way he likes to give us just 100% perfect work as much as possible, I think his job is just a little bit harder. And sometimes he tweets to Snyder and he's like, I just read the script to the next issue. What are you doing to me? Like some of the things he makes him draw. I remember in Court of Owls, he didn't have the pages yet for later on in the Court of Owls book. So he didn't know he had to draw so many Talons. He said if he had known about this, he would have made the Talon costume a lot simpler. Because you see the Talon costume, he's got the gauntlets, all the knives all over the place, the belts, and he's like, shit, I got to draw like 20 of these things now. So that's the only reason I say that, because of the way Greg Capullo works.
I see Twitter now. The reasons I'm broke says artists have a harder time than writers.
Welcome to 90s. What's a writer? It's all about the art, splash pages, 3D covers.
And guys, this is his opinion, not mine.
Was this your pick of the week?
No.
Not your pick of the week, okay.
Not my pick of the week. We're getting there. But next up we have Forever Evil Arkham War #1. This one's written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Scott Eaton and Jaime Mendoza.
It's a 6-part series, Arkham War, Forever Evil.
We get to see a lot of Bane, a lot of other people doing some fighting.
I've returned to die.
I've come to release Blackgate Prison. It kind of sounds like the mayor from Powerpuff Girls.
Powerpuff Girls, we must stop the Batman.
I like this show.
Dun 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 and Bane. Dun 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 and Bane.
Stop it.
Dun 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 dun. Break your back. Dun 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 dun. Sugar, spice, and venom.
Ow.
Has to be done. He's the 5th Powerpuff Girl.
The 5th? Who's the 4th?
The purple one. Remember the purple one?
Okay, I was just making sure.
So yeah, he's the villain.
Danny. How anticlimactic after all that. And he's the villain.
He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy. He's a bad guy compared to the rest of the Batman villains because they're all now choosing sides. They're all choosing to go up against Bane because Bane wants Gotham for himself. He doesn't buy this notion of every villain gets their own part of Gotham. No, he wants it all. And now the villains are choosing sides. Do they want to go under Bane's philosophy and maybe join up what is stronger, apparently? Or do they want to band together against Bane? So it's not necessarily, it hasn't turned yet into what we initially thought Forever Evil would be, in that the villains wanted to save the world because the heroes were gone, because the bigger evil was the Earth 3 superheroes, or villains, I guess, in this case. Lex Luthor is doing that. So we see that Lex Luthor has moved into the hero role, which at least I like to think so. We're going to see next Forever Evil issue, but the villains are more, their thing is more petty. It's more about themselves, and you just know when the Justice League comes back, they're all gonna get bat punched to the face and then thrown in Arkham, while the rest of the Justice League watches.
I agree. It wasn't that great. I feel like they were kind of like, oh man, we did so great with Villains Month. Here's some more villains, and it's not as well thought out. On that note, where would you live?
I would. Okay, so there's the Scarecrow, like part of the city. There's the ventriloquist.
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy. Definitely not on Dr. Pig's.
No,
Professor
spooky.
Pig. Sorry, Professor Pig.
Spooky. Penguin.
Penguin. That's where I would live.
Really?
In the Penguins, because his almost didn't change. It's just a casino lounge. That's all he wants, just a casino lounge. So I would just go there, get drunk, and gamble until the superheroes come back.
I would live in Poison Ivy's.
Poison Ivy's. See, that I definitely couldn't be in because of my allergies.
But for me, okay, so you live in Penguins, you're getting drunk and you're gambling. Well, you piss off this guy, he's going to shoot you. Penguin's not going to care.
Okay, so I lived longer than if I would have been in anyone else's.
Well, but you go in Poison Ivy's, it seems relatively calm. You don't fuck up her plan, she doesn't fuck up you.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's all it is.
But although she does tend to hate all of, like, humans, doesn't she?
Yeah, but I don't know. We got that ginger bond going on. We could be friends. I'd water her plants. Like, here, I got my watering pail.
It sounds like I liked this issue more than you did.
I think you did.
I think why I'm holding off is because of the Scarecrow. I think they set up the Scarecrow so well in his solo issue in the Villains Month that I want to see what he does. I like to pretend that he actually has. Maybe all this is also part of his plan. Like, yeah, he's banding certain villains together, but he's gonna do something in the end that, you know, you're gonna be like, oh man, that was fucking awesome. With Peter J. Tomasi writing, which he does great when he's got Batman and Robin, and that's been my second favorite book out of DC. So I've got confidence in him.
Yeah, me as well.
Next is Nightwing number 24, written by Kyle Higgins and Will Conrad. This does finish off the arc with the prankster, and we do finally get the redemption. Again, spoiler alert, of course, like always. The redemption that I wanted out of Tony Zuko. But it is ruined with the ending. Because Tony Zuko was this character that I sympathized with finally, and I knew that was coming, and I relished that moment. And then you get the very ending, and it just it was all for nothing.
Blame the Fire Lord. It's all his fault.
It's a different Zuko.
No, it's the same. I like to think it's the same Zuko.
So he's just gonna be whiny and
run
to his be rude to his grandpa, who was nice to him the whole series.
Who's his grandpa? Which grandpa are you talking about?
You said it's Zuko from the Fire Nation.
Yeah? Was that his
uncle,
grandpa?
Sorry, whatever.
No, his grandpa. His grandpa who said, "Hey, murder your son." Yeah, that guy.
Well, he wasn't even rude to him. He was more rude to his uncle than anyone.
Now, he was a young boy. Were you super nice to everybody when you were like 17, 16?
I don't remember that far back.
Exactly.
I have a terrible memory.
Okay, then.
But yeah, so Nightwing number 24, it was fun. I thought this whole thing was cool. I liked seeing the prankster and all the shit he did. Mm-hmm. And the ending to this, we got his origin.
I thought the prankster was very smart through everything that he did. Very smart. It's revealed that, the mayor really didn't steal all this money, but the prankster targeted who he did so that the people would be like, yeah, look, he's going after real bad guys. And then in the end, when he turns around the mayor, he's got all these people behind him. And, you know, I thought his reasoning for it was great. It's exactly what Nightwing's doing, essentially, just one step further.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of parallels between the two. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really ended very well.
Yeah, we'll see what the next arc is. Of course, we know it'll involve Tony Zuko, and I just hope I hope it holds up.
But then the Fire Nation attacks. Next, we have my pick of the week, Batgirl number 24. This one is written by Gail Simone with art by Fernando Passarin and Jonathan Glapion.
Your pick of the week, huh?
This is my pick of the week.
I was
a
surprised.
toss-up.
Yeah.
Toss-up between a couple of them.
What were you between? Batman, of course.
Yes, Batman was very good. I liked Red Sonja a lot, and Little Gotham is always up in my top. But I think this was a great Batgirl story. It's her dealing with all this shit that nobody should have to deal with, and picking herself up and continuing on, saying, you know what, this guy really hurt me, but he's my father, and I have to go save him, no matter what. That much devotion to the point where she will go back on what she's decided she's never going to do again.
Right.
Because he's that important to her. It's a great father-daughter story.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the return of Batgirl in very soon. As we all know, she gave up the cowl, the cape and cowl, because of the people around her that were getting hurt. Very Spider-Man-ish. I never would have seen you pick a Batgirl issue over a Little Gotham. That's, I think, what surprised me the most.
Really?
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, it was a good issue.
It's a great story.
when you put Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, against Jim Gordon, but Jim doesn't know that he's actually battling Batgirl or, his daughter, you can do a lot of fun stuff with it, and that's what Gale is doing.
I think that's what gets me the most, too, is you can tell he has this much animosity towards her. And you see that, for example, when they're in the warehouse, and he's just shot her boyfriend. He knows that that's her boyfriend, and he is sickened by himself because he did that to her. But at the same time, he's hating this woman, this vigilante who's right in front of him, who is his daughter, but he doesn't know it. So I think if he ever finds out, and I don't know if he will, but I think if he does, that's going to be a very, very powerful issue.
Hope it's as amazing as in the animated series. In the episode, which, what was that called again? It's always on people's top 5 list. It's the one where Batgirl dies and Jim Gordon goes after Batman, knowing full well that it's Bruce Wayne. It's called
Scarecrow.
Yeah. It's like Dead End or something. It's sad that I don't know this, but
this was on our top 5, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It's a season 4 of Batman the Animated Series. But at the very end, when he pretty much admits that he knows it's Barbara under there. If you listen to the Fat Man on Batman with Paul Dini, he says that in the way he wrote that episode, it was a moment in which Jim tells her that he knows it's been her the whole time, and that's why that moment is so sweet. And yeah, I do want to see something like that. And
I would love to.
If it would, of course, change the relationship between Batman and Gordon, or maybe it won't, like in the animated series, in which he just kind of pretended like he didn't know and trusted in Batman. So,
well, beyond that, he has to trust in his daughter.
That too.
I think that would be the big, with Gale and her woman power. But it would be more so than trusting Batman with Barbara. It would be trusting Barbara with herself.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks a lot to the kind of father he is, because that's a very tough thing to do.
And that will do it for Single Comics this week. We did pick up one more thing. The Batman trade paperback, Volume 2, The City of Owls. This is the second part to the entire Court of Owls epic. This was the first story out of the Batman series with the New 52 relaunch. Written by Scott Snyder and art by Greg Capullo. You didn't get a chance to read Volume 2, did you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I had recently read Volume 1. Volume 2 finished in one sitting, and it still holds up. It's still so much fun. It's such a... Like, now reading it again, you really see how this whole thing connected and how well it took shape. And like you said, you did want to do like a long episode, right? Where we talked about the Court of Owls, but... Yeah,
I would love to. I'd love to be able to put it up on YouTube. I don't know if we're ever going to have the time, but to be able to do pictures and panels that we like, because there were so many iconic panels, so many, like the thing that comes to my mind is that page where you had to turn the book to keep, remember it was like pages, half the comic, and because Batman was going crazy, and you thought you were going crazy too, because you kept turning this book.
Yeah, you're following him along.
Exactly. And that was wonderful. I'd love to be able to highlight some of those things and really analyze the story. And maybe someday we'll get a chance.
Yeah, so that is finally out now, so you have no excuse. The cheaper versions of the cheapest versions currently right now of the Court of Owls story is Volume 1 and Volume 2 soft cover. So it's no longer in hardcover. You can get it at a much cheaper price. Absolutely worth it. You'll read it for years to come over and over again. You're going to come back and you'll want to see the owls again. You'll want to see the owls overtake Gotham, and you'll want to see the Talons try to assassinate the people of Gotham and Batman putting a stop to them. It's just such a good story. As we all know, right after that was Death of the Family, and now Zero Year. So it's just good thing after good thing. And of course, Death of the Family comes out, I think, this month, just in time for Halloween. That rip-off cover with Joker's face.
That was
Peel it back, you get his fucking skin.
There were so many really creepy moments in that arc.
Yeah,
so
that
many.
was, it's so good.
I'm thinking of them right now. Stop it!
So absolutely pick it up. You have no excuse. We're broke, so we got it. Don't say you don't have money.
Who needs food?
So anything else before we close out?
No, I think that's going to be it for this week.
We're going to have more thoughts on Pokemon X and Y next week. And hopefully we'll have some more significant news from New York Comic Con, other than them posting as other people without their permission on Twitter.
At New York Comic Con, not wearing panties. Hashtag be free.
Why did Dan Slott write that?
Oh, man.
I just favored it, retweet.
They could have done so many better things with that.
Yeah. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke. Let us know how you're liking Pokemon X and Y. Hashtag Pokemon XY.
Also, make sure you download us on iTunes, and if you do, leave us a comment. It helps other people find us. And if you don't have iTunes, you can listen to us through IPP Podcast on your Android phone.
Yeah, it's an awesome application. You can have any podcast, including ours, on the go. Mm-hmm. So if you have any way to connect your regular iPod or iDevice or any kind of MP3 player to your car, you can just connect your smartphone using this application, and you can hear podcasts, music, whatever, through that application through your car speakers. So it's a great, great app. And I think that will, of course, do it for this week. Good to have you back. It's a lot more fun.
Well, yeah.
Never would have thought of the Bane Powerpuff Girl thing or anything. So with that, we'll see you next week. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
Thank you for listening.